everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Aisha Morales. Jason has tonight off. Brown County Democratic Party holding an early vote block party at its office in Green Bay today. Several Democratic candidates and representatives were there, including United States Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. New at 10, Jamal James hears from voters and government officials on why this race is so important.
We're less than 2 weeks away from Election Day. Republicans and Democrats are doing everything they can to get people to the ballot box.
They told me to expect we'd have a good number of people, but I didn't know we'd have this many folks out. And it's really impressive. I think it shows the enthusiasm and the energy around getting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz elected.
At this early voting block party hosted by the Democratic Party of Brown County, voters joined local leaders including 8th Congressional candidate Dr. Kristen Lyerly, Green Bay Mayor Eric Enrick, and United States Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, rallying the community to encourage others to vote blue and vote early. Some of the major talking points: education, women's reproductive rights, the LGBTQ community, among many others. Not only does Pete Buttigieg believe that this is a crucial race for the state of Wisconsin, but even the voters here believe that this is important to representing who they are.
Our slate of candidates this time around reflects America. It reflects the Democratic Party. And it's just, I couldn't be prouder of these folks, of how hard they're working, what they stand for.
How far we've come in the LGBT community. I grew up in the 60s and things have changed so much, and like he mentioned, we're not going back.
As we get closer to the final stretch, Democrats, like Republicans, are making every push they can for as many votes as possible.
You can tell that this is a game of inches, even though I think the case is clear. If people are getting information from different sources, that makes this a razor-thin margin kind of election.
But no matter what side of the aisle you're on, your vote is your voice. In Green Bay, Jamal James, Action 2 News.
And Wisconsin Republican Chairman Brian Schimming releasing a statement to Action 2 News about that event you just saw, saying, quote, "Thanks to the failures of Pete Buttigieg at the Department of Transportation, the United States experienced a supply chain crisis and record inflation. His presence in Wisconsin only reminds voters of the need for change at the ballot box this November. We cannot afford 4 more years of Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg in Washington," end quote.